coming up from the Northeast Live studios in Guwahati. Northeast Tonight with Wasbir Hussain.
Hello and welcome to Notice Tonight, the show that decodes the region. Assam Chief Minister Dr. Himanta Sharma's war cry against drugs has started yielding results, with the Assam Police arresting more than 800 people associated with the illicit trade during May and June alone, and seizing crores of rupees worth of contraband ranging from heroin to synthetic drugs to morphine and opiates. What is more, the Assam Police has now confirmed that there is a clear narco-terror angle in the drugs trade, and has added that several insurgent groups active in the northeast have been providing protection to those operating drug cartels in the region that is close to the infamous Golden Triangle of Myanmar, Thailand and Laos. The big question now is, will the Assam Police be able to net the kingpins of the drug syndicates, who are often working from states outside Assam with links across the international borders? Can there be effective coordination among the police forces in the region? Are rebel groups in the northeast actually depending on drugs economy for their survival? Is money provided by the center properly utilized by those running drug de-addiction and rehabilitation centers? To discuss the subject, I have a very eminent panel tonight. I am joined in the studios by the Assam Director General of Police, Mr. Bhaskar Mahanta. I am also joined by Mr. Surendra Kumar, IPS, IGP CID Assam. Dr. Sondeep Hanse, Chief Functionary, State Level Coordinating Agency, Drug Prevention Assam, who is associated with the monitoring of drug rehabilitation centers, is also with me. Joining me is ULFA General Secretary, Mr. Anup Chetia. With me from Imphal is Hijam Dinesh, Kripa Society Manipur, and joining me from Kohima is Mr. Abou, Director of the Kripa Foundation, Nagaland. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. Let me begin with you, Mr. Bhaskar Mahanta, the DGP Assam. Mr. Bhaskar Mahanta, even a short while ago, let's begin with the breaking story first. We are getting reports. I'd request you to confirm this. We are getting reports that a short while ago, the Assam Police has got hold of a huge seizure. There has been a huge drug haul at Dilai in Karbi Anglong district, where the police is believed to have recovered nearly 2 kgs of methamphetamines, which market value about 5 to 6 crores. What are some of the details? Can you confirm this?
Just a while ago, we had this recovery from a vehicle. There was a group of people who were going, and there was a checking party. And a home guard, one Borsing Bay, a local guy, he went forward towards the vehicle and asked for details of the vehicles, and then he was offered a huge sum of money as a bribe. And he refused to take that bribe. And but he had called a checking party close by, and they have checked that vehicle, and they have recovered methamphetamine powder, not in tablet form but the powder form. So that has been recovered, which is a huge cost, which in the international market, as you said, to the tune of 6 crore. It's a little more than 1.5 kg. And it's very important that we catch this powder form rather than the tablet form, because it could be used with any other chemicals and things like that, and making it even more dangerous and even more psychotropic. So this catch is a milestone catch. And
right. This is the big breaking story, viewers, on Notice Tonight. As we are talking about the war on drugs, here is a live example, almost a live example. A short while ago, the Assam Police in Karbi Anglong, a home guard personnel, actually an alert home guard personnel, Borsing Bay, that is the name given by the DGP Assam, who is on this show tonight, along with, of course, the IGP CID Assam, Mr. Surendra Kumar. This 1.5 kg of methamphetamines, 6 crore in the international market. That is a huge seizure. Now, Mr. Bhaskar Mahanta, what does this indicate? You seem to be this time pretty serious about cracking down on drugs, and you have also said that there is a serious narco-terror link, which is real, actually.
We've been pretty serious from the word go. Actually, we have drawn up a strategy way back in 2020, ever since I joined in the rank of DGP Assam. But then that time we were focusing on starting the engine, that Surendra likes to say. So by the time we understood the magnitude of it, and we had initially focused at the strategy of going for the supply chain. And if you see look at the figure, 2018 we got 455 cases registered. In 2020 we have got nearly 1,000 cases, and in 2021 so far it is cases registered is more than 1,000 already. And similarly, the heroin recovery in 2018 was just 7 kg. In 2020 it was 28 kg, and in the current year it's getting closer to that kind of figure. It's more than 22 kg now.
Right.
So it's pretty big, and now that was the initial strategy. After the Honorable Chief Minister in a new government had taken over, he had asked me what is the strategy that we have. Then we talked about the next step is to go to the retail market. And Honorable Chief Minister Assam is very concerned about this menace going into the core of the Assam society, especially to the youths of the villages and the different street corners, etc.
Right.
So he accordingly had asked us, how about going for all this at a time? So we had just let loose,
Absolutely. So there is a coordinated operation going on across Assam. Let me come to you, Mr. Surendra Kumar. Mr. Surendra Kumar, before we may ask you another question, has anybody been arrested? Either of you can say actually in this latest drug haul in Karbi Anglong, have you arrested anyone?
You mean today's?
Today's.
Yes, it's still going on. Asking is going on to the people out there. Looking around is still going on. We haven't formally arrested because they have not yet been brought to the police station.
Right.
Only a couple of days back, we got another very big haul in Karbi Anglong, in another place, and we got one lady, 2 persons in fact, one lady called Didi. She used to be known as Didi, and she's quite a big kingpin. You've been also talking about kingpins, and she was one of the king. Now she is a lady, so she will not be kingpin. She's a queenpin, and and there's another chap who's caught. The lady's name was P.H. Paune, wife of Let Saloon of village Chinaikula. She's from Senapati district, and there was another guy called Kevin Movi. He's from Dimapur. These 2 people were caught.
So I'll expand on that, Mr. Bhaskar Mahanta. You talked about 2 names. One is from Manipur, one is from Nagaland. So that explains a lot. I'll go into details about that. Mr. Surendra Kumar, the 10th of May was when the new government in Assam, led by Dr. Himanta Biswa Sharma, took oath, and within 2 to 3 days he gave a clear direction to the Assam Police to go against drug trafficking, drug dealers, drug consumption, and everything else. Now, in the last since 10th of May, or for that matter in the last 2 months, how many people have you actually arrested in the last 2 months? Let's not go back. Last 2 months, what is the seizure and what is the number of people arrested? Any idea?
So, I have brought the data of recovery and from 10th May, because that is the day when new government took over.
Right.
So that would give you fair idea of the scale of operations which we have launched. So total cases registered from 10th May till yesterday is 634, and the drug traffickers arrested are 1099, so close to 1100. Seizure of heroin is 16 kg, 0.095. Then ganja is 6,626 kg, huge recovery. And the tablets is 50,000.
50,000.
Just a minute. The tablet is
50,000 plus, basically.
5,08,997.
5,8,000?
997.
997.
And cough
okay.
syrup is 57,562. Morphine is 1.9 kg. Opium is 9.5386 kg. Poppy straw 369 kg. And cash is huge, 52,81,210.
Since
And
10th June.
There are foreign
Sorry, 10th
currencies
May.
also. Foreign currencies also.
Okay.
13,630.
13,630 is foreign currency. And we have also destroyed large area of land under illegal cannabis cultivation.
Okay.
So 31 bigha.
So that is the seriousness, viewers, that explains as to what level the Assam Police has taken this fight against drugs in the state. Let me go to my panelists from the other states. I'll come back to you in a minute, Mr. Anup Chetia and Dr. Sondeep Hanse. Let me quickly go to Mr. Hijam Dinesh of the Kripa Society in Manipur. Mr. Hijam Dinesh, welcome to the show. Now, you know, we are having, as you have heard, the Director General of Police, Assam, and as you have heard that, you know, there is a massive operation against drugs going on in Assam. But one of the major routes, one of the major entry point for drugs into the northeast is Moreh in Manipur, which borders Myanmar. So how is the situation in Manipur? And as an activist working against drugs, what is your broad overview about the scenario in Manipur?
In Manipur, sometimes back, it's people always think about the drugs smuggling in from Myanmar side or other side. But today, unfortunately, these heroin are locally manufactured. Very recently, during the last 2.5 months, 5 local manufacturing units were busted by the government machineries, and around 2,000 crore rupees worth heroin and other materials were seized from this illegal manufacturer. But this is becoming a very serious matter. Now, at the volume of the seizure, we feel that the projects are not only meant for this state of Manipur or not even for the northeast state. It's now almost like an international cartel or big peoples are involved here. And we have a lot of news reports about involvement of higher people from even legislatures, bureaucrat officers, and people from law enforcement agency. Of course, every department, ministries has their black sheep. We are not blaming entire law enforcement department.
Absolutely.
But our Honorable Chief Minister is very committed that we have always requested the government to formulate a state drug policy. And very fortunately, luckily, with the commitment, this last more than 10 years, this it was lying in the state government's office. Now, the government of Manipur has approved the state drug policy, and it's already published in the state gazette. And hopefully, government will formally announce on 26th of June. And it's a very comprehensive policy guideline. When we talk a lot about war on drugs, this is a catchy phrase, but on the ground, if you wage a war, you must have a kind of a command structure, like a coordinated effort of all the line departments. We have requested the Ministry of Social Justice, Ministry of Health, and Ministry of Home to work together.
Right.
Luckily for Manipur, all the line departments are under a core committee headed by the Chief Minister of Manipur. with all the department heads are there.
Right.
And
I
with
will,
that we have,
Mr. Dinesh,
yes.
you are making some extremely important points. I will come back to you. But the big breaking news at this point from Manipur is that they are, apart from Manipur's proximity to the Golden Triangle, or for that matter Myanmar, the big story is that 5 local manufacturing units of heroin have been busted in recent months, and heroin worth 2,000 crore rupees have been seized. And that is the biggest breaking story. And what Mr. Dinesh Hijam Dinesh is saying is that there has to be a coordinated offensive if you are really to make a war on drugs. And he is saying that there has to be a coordination among the line departments. But the question is, I will ask the DGP and others, what about coordination among the states in the northeast? That I'll come slightly later. Before coming to my guests in Assam, Mr. Abou in Kohima, the director of the Kripa Foundation. Mr. Abou, you have been working for several years now against drugs. You have heard the Assam DGP. You have heard your colleague from Manipur. It's a very, very serious situation. What do you have to say? How is the situation in Nagaland? Before coming to my guests in Assam, Mr. Abou,
Thank you very much for this opportunity. In Nagaland is also share a border with Myanmar, the Golden Triangle. But however, Nagaland is a transit point. The drugs was smuggled from Myanmar to Manipur, Manipur to Nagaland, and goes out to Assam and the rest of the country and internationally.
Right.
But however, having said that, being community health activists, I fully understand that addressing the issue of substance use and abuse is paramount, and appreciate Assam government's concern in wanting to take initiative to create a better environment by curbing drug trafficking as per the law of the land. However, we have to understand there are supply control and demand control. War on drugs, only if we emphasize on supply control, that will not work. So we have to concentrate on demand control, demand reduction.
Yes.
Substance use and abuse is not a problem of an individual, but it is a psychosocial, social-political, psycho-medical problem, and also a human rights problem. Therefore, when we are looking at a drug problem, we have to be holistic. Unless we deal holistically, then we may not able to curb drugs.
Very important point by Mr. Abou, demand reduction. That we will expand on this demand reduction, how to reduce the demand itself and choke. The demand reduction will lead to supply reduction as well. Mr. Anup Chetia, the General Secretary of ULFA, currently negotiating with the Government of India for a peace agreement. Mr. Anup Chetia, the question now is, can you give us an overview? How important is the drug money for the sustenance of rebel groups, particularly those who operate from the jungles in Myanmar, or for that matter the Myanmar-China border? How important, to what extent does rebel groups depend on drug economy, on drug money?
Yes, thank you very much for your initiative. And I like to first of all, I like to thanks to the Honorable Chief Minister of Assam, Dr. Himanta Biswa Sharma, for his initiative, bold steps against the drugs, because nowadays the drugs is going to finish our young generation. Therefore, once again, thanks to the Assam Police also, and especially DGP Mahanta sir also, then they are taking a very good steps. Anyway, since 1983, we were in Burma. At that time, a golden triangle was there in Burma, and some drugs trafficking was there in that time also, but we were never involved in this business, because those who are actually nationalist minded, revolutionary minded, they never involved in this drug business, because we were fighting for the people.
Right.
For
Now, one question
our
to you.
nation.
Yes,
But
I
we
take your
cannot
point.
finish our nation.
Right. Mr. Anup Chetia, I take your point.
But at that time, yes.
No, my question is, I've taken your
Yes,
point.
at that time, yeah.
Yeah, let me complete my question. I am not saying that your organization is involved or was involved. I'm not saying that. My question is, I was just trying to have an overview and understanding from you, because you have spent yourself many years in Myanmar, you know, and we are now getting to understand that some of the rebel groups give protection. They may not be directly involved in drug trafficking, but they are giving protection to the drug cartels.
But yes, I don't have any idea. Some groups, they have given protection and in exchange of some money. But if they have done, then it is a very blunder for their nation. Yes, because one thing is that there is so many splinter groups, especially in Manipur. Because I know that UNLF and PLA, PRIPAC and KCP, those who are original UNLF, PIPAC, KCP and PLA, they cannot do such business. But there is so many splinter groups in Manipur. I think there is nearly 22 groups. I met some persons, they have only 5 to 6 persons and they form one group. There is lots of groups. Definitely,
right.
they may involved
Absolutely.
in this such a protection,
Right.
protection in exchange of money.
I will come to you.
In general, in general, I don't think that
I'll come to you.
these big organizations,
Right.
like PLA,
I'll come back.
UNLF,
I'll come
they
back
will
to you,
involve.
Mr. Anup Chetia. I'll come back to you. Let me, before coming to the DGP once again, let me very quickly go to you, Dr. Sondeep Hanse. Dr. Sondeep Hanse, the panelist from Nagaland, Mr. Abou Mr. Abou Mere has made a very interesting point, very significant point. He said that, demand reduction has to be done. But my question is, I was also posing a question. There is also the issue of rehabilitation. If you have a war on drugs, it has to be a comprehensive war on all fronts. Now, there are a lot of people working. The police is trying to capture the drug cartels, trying to capture the drug peddlers. People like you who are working on drug prevention, you are also looking after rehabilitation centers. Recently, there were reports that the rehab centers, many of the rehab centers were misusing funds because there was no beneficiaries at all. They were just having a signboard. They had all the names in their registers, but they were taking money, but they were not doing anything. Now, what is your picture? Very quickly, how do you like to describe the situation?
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. So I want to reveal some of the very astonishing facts. Please give me a little bit more time because it is very, very important. This is my request.
Please be brief.
So, yeah. I was associated with National Drug Survey, and the National Survey on Extended Pattern of Substance Use in India, it clearly says, which was published in 2019, it says that there are more than 87 lakhs of drug users are existing in India. So right now, since another 2-3 years has been passed out, we believe that almost 1 crore of drug users exist in India. In Assam also, we understand that around 2 lakhs to 3 lakhs of drug use individuals or population exists for the state of Assam as well. So right now I want to speak that since we also understand, we assume that per day, the cost that the users, they use to purchase the drugs is the minimum of 500 to the maximum of 5,000 as well. So if we understand that if there is a 1 lakh population or 2 lakh population, they are using the drugs every day, because if they have to use it, it is their demand, their body demand. So we understand that that if calculation of 500 minimum cost for 2 lakh drug users. Every day, the uses of drugs, the amount total value, it goes to 1,000 crore, which is very astonishing fact. And now, the thing is that I want to say, the drug demand reduction, the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, previously their program in all over India context, they say it's like the prevention of alcoholism and drugs. Right now they say that the program has been changed. There is a 5 years plan under the government. They have introduced National Action Plan for Drug Demand Reduction. So in this context, the ministry has given the opportunity of running some of the rehab centers, that is we call IRCA, Integrated Rehabilitation Center for Addicts, which are almost around 25 to 26 rehabilitation centers are there right now. The government de-addiction center under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, they are also running, and private rehab are there too. So in context to that, in case of government, the total facility that exists right now, only 300 of drug use clients can get treated for a period of 2-3 months. Within a period of 2-3 months, we also understand that this private rehabilitation
let's cut to the chase. Actually, are you happy with the functioning of these drug rehab centers? I'll have to cut you short there very briefly. Are you happy with the functioning of these drug rehabilitation centers in general?
Overall, lots of modifications and revival of the centers is now the need of the hour, which I understand. Some of the centers, they are functioning well. Some of the centers they are in the intermediate stage. Some of the centers are not doing well,
Dr.
or they
Hanse,
are not doing nothing.
Dr. Hanse, I'll come back to you. That is what Dr. Hanse is saying. Some of the rehabilitation centers are operating well, some are not. We had recently had a detailed story, detailed investigative report where Dr. Hanse's group themselves they conducted investigations and found that at least half a dozen centers in Assam, they are operating. Actually, these are fake centers without any beneficiaries, and I really don't know what the social welfare department is doing. Who is monitoring? That is extremely monitoring agency needs to be aggressive on discount. Let me come back to you, Mr. Bhaskar Mahanta. In all this, as Mr. Abou has said, that if you call it a war on drugs, it has to be on multiple fronts. Now, one of the issues is that we have seen in the last 2 months, as Mr. Surendra Kumar has said, given us these figures: 1,000 people, 1,100 people arrested, 634 cases lodged, 16 kgs of heroin seized. But what about coordination among the states? How? Because without coordination, your job will be half done. Coordination among at least the northeastern states.
We're coordinating pretty fine. Actually, especially with Nagaland, it's very important. And DG Nagaland is a personal friend, and they've been pretty proactively helping us. The other day, we needed to raid a particular place inside Dimapur, and I spoke to the DG, and he was very solidly forthcoming, and we did that. And we need to do a lot of follow-up out there, all right. But then there could be some constraints in some states. But then out here in Assam, as far as these issues are concerned, there is a policy of absolute zero tolerance. I mean, whoever it would be, like there would be absolutely no nonsense approach towards it, and we will not spare anybody. If somebody dares deal with this, not to talk about kind of producing it or manufacturing it. But unfortunately, it's been a story of a long history, actually, Golden Triangle, right from the days of Khunsa, who is dead now.
Yeah.
There used to be massive cultivation of poppy around his areas in Golden Triangle, and a lot of rebel groups used to be used for fatigue duty, cleaning the poppy cultivation out there. That's how they used to start their training. And later, why United States Army? Why United States Army? I'm sure Anup Chetia must have heard about them. They are the biggest producer of methamphetamine in the world, and they are also the biggest weapon proliferator in the Southeast Asia. And there is another kind of a domestic production almost right near the border of some Mizoram, Champhai. Beyond Champhai, beyond Indian border, there are some household manufacturing, illicit manufacturing inside Myanmar of methamphetamine in a very dangerous conditions.
Right.
So then the, you know, as Manipur's now begun busting, we are aware of some of the, because with Manipur DG, Mr. Khaute also been talking continuously. We've been having this forum of Northeast DG's conference. In fact, only a month back or so, like we had this conference, and we are talking about cooperation at various levels, especially in terms of drugs and things like that. And there are a couple of other agencies as well. Surinder could perhaps throw a little light on that.
Mr. Sundar Kumar, you know, we are talking about coordination among the northeastern states. Now, you've seen the panelist from Manipur, Mr. Hijam Dinesh of the Kripa Society, is a very, very well-known anti-drug activist. He has been saying that, you know, forget about across the border. Even within Manipur, 5 local manufacturing units, heroin, 2,000 crore worth of heroin busted. So that raises the issue, raises the problem to an all new high level. Now, in view of this, what about coordination among the police and the other forces? I'm not talking only about the security forces. For example, the Directorate of Revenue Intelligence, they are also working. So do you have, what kind of a coordination do you have?
We have very good mechanism of coordination. At institutional level, we have a few very effective structures. So one is NCORD, Narcotic Coordination Center. It is 3-tier structure. The apex level Narcotic Coordination Center is headed by Union Home Secretary with all stakeholders on board at national level. Then we have state level Narcotic Coordination Center headed by Chief Secretary Assam, and Honorable DGP is also a member. And all other stakeholders, whether customs, DRI, excise, NCV, other government line departments, these are members of this state level NCORD. And on top of it, we have district level NCORD in all the districts, which is headed by DC of the district, and SP is a member. Over and above, we have Joint Coordination Committee at national level. This is for effective investigation of major cases under NDPS Act. And in Assam, we have some committee of JCC, and all stakeholders are part of this JCC. In addition to this, all the nodal officers of northeastern states who deal with drug trafficking, anti-drug trafficking, are member of a WhatsApp group, JCC Northeast, and we closely coordinate with them.
Only the other day, Wasbir, I would like to bring to your knowledge, was it day before yesterday, we had this encounter with a group in Singhasan Hills wherein
2 people were killed.
Two militants of UDRF were killed and 2 AK-56 were recovered. Now, this particular group is known to be having their liaison in Churachandpur in terms of poaching and drug network. So, killing of these 2 guys also indicate a design perhaps with the flood coming in, Kaziranga rhinos are going to come towards Karbi Anglong. So, there are instances of people from Churachandpur and other places having come into Assam along with drug money and also using it for going for poaching and things like that. Some time back in Churachandpur, Assam Police has requested Manipur Police, and SP herself had taken initiative in Churachandpur, and we got a very high value target, and we got him here in Assam. So, that kind of coordinations are on.
Absolutely. I'll go for a short break. When I come back, I'll go to my panelist in Imphal, Mr. Hijam Dinesh, and in Kohima, Mr. Abou, and we'll also talk to the DGP Assam whether on the lines of a unified command to deal with insurgency, whether there should be an unified command or some kind of a command structure which Mr. Hijam Dinesh was suggesting to tackle drugs in a more effective manner, not just in Assam but all across the Northeast. Don't go away. I'll be right back. Welcome back. Let me go to Imphal, to Mr. Hijam Dinesh of the Kripa Society, Manipur. Mr. Hijam Dinesh, how important is coordination among the northeastern states? And what about, are you happy with the investigation and the conviction rate of arrested people in your state?
Satisfied with the number of arrests and registered cases are concerned. And whatsoever it is, I also would like to add something about the treatment of drug users. As Abou has also mentioned, whenever the campaign against drug or drug prevention is intensified, people targeted the drug user community only, so victimized. And what is happening now is the big cartels are scot-free, and small-time peddler and drug users are arrested. As some reporters said, in Assam also some 1,000 people were arrested in the last 1 or 2 months. In Manipur also the first time, there was 2018 when the Chief Minister declared about this war. Many drug users came for treatment, fearing the outcasts outlaws from the government. But in Manipur there are only 21 treatment facilities sponsored by the ministry, and some 50 around private treatment facilities.
Right.
All come together at one point of time. Only 1,400 patients can be treated. And the ministry report said there are 34,000 injecting drug users alone, including the oral drug users, smoker. We have more than 1 lakh drug users. So how long it is going to take to treat? That's why here we come about harm reduction program. We can treat people at home, or this opioid substitution therapy,
right,
methadone maintenance, this kind of thing also need. And if coming to the point about the coordination, it's very much essential. Like, the poppy cultivation is rampant in the state of Manipur, everywhere, particularly in the hill stations of the Manipur. But here also the government just cannot take a decision and ask. They talk a lot about cash crop alternative arrangement, but without listening to the poppy farmers, it is not going to be effective.
So you are basically, Mr. Dinesh, you are basically saying that alternative means of livelihood also has to be thought about by the state government, isn't it? Alternative means of livelihood for these people who are growing poppy.
Poppy, right, but we need to listen to the farmers, what kind of thing they wanted as an alternative to poppy cultivation. Like the state government has suggested that you cultivate cardamom or some other like sandan trees. This will take around, say, 2-3 years to harvest, but poppy cultivation, immediately they got the money. And again, some financiers are there. The financiers,
right,
this is reported in the local media, the financiers give 20,000 rupees to every farmer, and out of this, 10,000 is given to the village chief, because in customary law, the land belongs to village chief. And so someone is financing this, and so far the government has not come out with any report who are the financiers.
Absolutely. So this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is such a huge problem. It has several layers. I'll have to come back to you slightly later, Mr. Hijam Dinesh. Mr. Abou Mere, is it only a law and order issue? Is it the job of only the law enforcing agencies to deal with drugs? What about the society? You have been working for a long time. Do you think the society also has failed to a great extent in curbing the drug menace?
Every individual and every society has a role to play over here. Yes, when we can divide our roles. In supply reduction, the law enforcement agencies, such as people in uniform administration and the village panchayat or civil society, can play a large role. However, having said that, on prevention side, like school education, youth resource, and NGOs can play a big role. And over here, if you see NDPS Act properly, we should not look in the tunnel vision. Yes, we all know that Section 27 says about punishable offense for both trafficking and personal consumption. But NDPS Act do not talks about Section 27 alone. NDPS Act also provides alternative to criminalizations through Section 64A, immunity from prosecution for those who volunteer for treatment. Therefore, both demand reduction and supply reduction has to go hand in hand.
Okay.
I've been an ex-drug user. I know.
Okay.
I've been in lockups. I've been in jails. Yeah. So, but however, I have got treated and has been clean and sober for the last more than 27 years. And I have been working in this field.
Right.
And I have been able to help my fellow friends who are helpless. So drug users are not hopeless, but they are helpless.
Not hopeless, but helpless. Okay.
Given an opportunity and provide, yeah.
Right.
And if we have provided an opportunity and provide a scientific-based treatment,
yes,
then we can overcome and can become a productive society.
Very true. Very true. Now, very quickly, Mr. Anup Chetia, before I thank you, Mr. Anup Chetia, you see, recently also there were 2 members of a militant group in Assam's Karbi Anglong. They were gunned down only 2 days ago. They were part of a drug racket. They were directly involved in this drug trafficking. They are operating in Karbi Anglong as well as Churachandpur. That is what the Assam Police is saying. I have 2 top police officers sitting. I have the police chief sitting with me here. Now the point is, Mr. Anup Chetia, to what do you do? Can you rule out, because in Myanmar there are whole big rebel groups which main source of funds is drug money. So how can you say that groups in the northeast, I'm not talking about the ULFA, as you also said, there are a lot of splinter groups, but what is the guarantee that even big groups are not involved in drug trafficking, giving protection and utilizing, because nowadays with security forces intensifying their operations, they cannot even extort to the extent they used to do earlier. So do you think they depend a lot more on drug economy, drug money these days?
I fully agree with the Honorable DGP of Assam, Mr. Mahanta, because in Karbi Anglong there is some groups also. Actually, they are not revolutionaries. They are not. Actually, they are what is called. I can say that they are not revolutionaries. They are not a true fighters. They are thugs and they are bad elements, and they are involved in poaching also. I agree with the Honorable DGP, because some groups in Manipur, they have provided arms. That means they as a protection, and they provided arms to poachers also, and they have doing this business, this poaching business also, as at the same time they are doing this drugs business also. I agree with DGP also,
right.
And I agree that there is I know that there is some groups, there is some small groups in Manipur, they are involving, they are taking some protection money or whatever you say, but they are involving, they are doing business,
okay.
And drug trafficking also, drug business also,
yes.
Poaching also. It is reality. There is a reality.
That is the reality.
But
okay.
Whatever I know that this, but one thing is that those who are these big groups, there's like a United Liberation Front of Alpha, Independent, PLA.
They are not involved. That's what you were saying.
That means that there is so many splinter groups.
I will leave it. I'll have to leave
I
it.
think
I'll
they
have to
will
leave
not,
it at that.
they cannot involve.
I'll have to leave it at that, Mr. Anup Chetia, only for the lack of time. Before I thank you also, Mr. Hanse, Dr. Sondeep Hanse, what is the road ahead now? How will you ensure? Do you think there is more monitoring necessary at how these rehab centers are operating? At the end of the day, we are calling it war on drugs. It involves, as I have said before, all the components, whether it is policing, whether it is people like you who are monitoring the rehab centers. Do you think monitoring is not enough by the state government?
Since the center has been established, now it is the part of the monitoring agency also to look over. First of all, the agency who will run the center, they have to be ethically well sound, they have to be experienced, they will recruit the experienced staff, as well as they have to monitor, have a strong coordination with the district level, as well as all the district hotspot users, drug users, forum, they have to monitor, they have got a strong communication like that. So, secondly, I want to say that the monitoring, the district social welfare officers are there, the state government, the central government. In fact, the central government has got their own agency as well. There is a monitoring system in the portal also. The beneficiaries' details has been uploaded. So some of the things might be earlier there was a loophole. So for years and years there was a problem. But now the system has been modified. They have activated the system. Now it will be difficult for them also to go if they will not run properly.
Right.
So I do believe that, I do believe that the system will change. Now all the responsible person has come forward to look over it. I appreciate all of them. The police department, the social welfare department also, we discussed a lot.
Okay. Okay. Now I'm coming back once again to you, Mr. Bhaskar Mahanta. You know, in the figures, very impressive figures, 1,100 people arrested since 10th of June to now. But again, the issue comes, most of these people manage to go out on bail and they just go scot-free. This brings us to the question of effective investigation so that there is a watertight case and so that the prosecution is strong so that, they can be convicted. Now, we are seeing that both there are problems with investigation, there are problems with the rate of conviction as well.
Well, in Assam, in 2020 itself, I have issued 4 numbers of model FIRs. In fact, the Narcotic Control Bureau, etc., also had really appreciated our effort to kind of impart right kind of education to the investigating officers. A whole lot of trainings are being done. However, in different situations, what kind of FIRs it to be drawn, the kind of FIRs that we have suggested to be drawn in 4 numbers of situations are such that if they have to file that FIR, all the procedures will have to be followed, no question about it, and now this is being done. However, I guess with all respect to the honorable courts, some of the lower courts would also require some amount of sensitization in this regard, so that bails are just not given just at the drop of the hat, and default bail, if anybody has to get it, has to be because the IO had not been able to submit the charge sheet within a period of 60 to 180 days. And now, they are very adequately sensitized. The kind of guidelines that is issued by the CID to our IOs are in fact being emulated by National Narcotic Control Bureau itself. They have appreciated and they have reiterated to the states that the Assam's model of the guidelines of NDPS Act, how to go about prosecuting, is the right one. Anyway, in addition, of course, there is a system of SMS alert. The investigating officers are being given SMS alert that your time is closing into the last few days. So, you better finish it now. The seizure procedure, the sampling procedure, etc. We are trying to sensitize our people, and now there is this advanced cyber lab which is being set up in the CID, which is going to monitor mobile telephones and mobile cyber forensics. We are focusing on, so that these people cannot dupe us by way of contacting our different computerized formats. Anyway, we are very actively. Honorable Chief Minister Assam had also looked at it very closely, and he had very decisively suggested opening of 4 different
forensic labs.
7 different forensic labs. In fact, he had given us ideas about how to go about it. He is creating new post for this. In fact, cabinet decision is already taken on this, and existing buildings of medical colleges, some of the parts of those existing colleges are being
Right.
turned into forensic labs, so that we get our forensic reports also easier.
Now, since now you have come across cases, instances of narco-terror links, direct links of direct narco-terror link cases, are you planning, or has this thought crossed your mind to, hand over one or two cases only for reasons of coordination among other states, because these people straddle across different states in the Northeast and maybe even outside? Do you think you are planning to involve the NIA in this kind of operations, investigations?
Yes, we have already handed over at least one case to NCB, and another case to the NIA is under process right now.
These are recent cases?
Well, we will not talk about it too much.
Okay, so the DGP there saying that one of the cases involving drugs has been given to the Narcotics Control Bureau, and another case given to the NIA, and obviously that is because of the narco-terror link which the Assam Police has stumbled upon in course of their investigations into drugs or drug trafficking in the state. I'd like to ask you, Mr. Surinder Kumar, you deal with this issue in the CID on a day-to-day basis. Now, I would like you to a little bit expand on this investigation part, which is so important. Yes, the DGP talked about 4 model FIRs, but do you think there has to be a completely separate investigation wing? But if we are launching a war on drugs, do you think you'll be happy to have a set of police officers who are only investigating drugs cases if we have to go to the root of the problem and eradicate this menace from the society in Assam? Do you think that is possible, or do you think it is far-fetched?
No, it is possible. Already government of Assam is in the process of separating law and order from investigation, and this is also being monitored by High Court, Honorable Guwahati High Court. And adding to the point which were raised by Honorable DG, we are also doing lot of action under PIT NDPS Act. You must be aware that besides NDPS Act, there is another act, PIT NDPS Act 1998. Under this, there is a provision of putting important drug traffickers behind bar without trial under preventive detention for up to 1 year. And you will be very happy to know that we have put 15 important drug traffickers behind bar, and on 29th May 2021, 6 detention orders were issued by government on the same day. As far as investigation is concerned, we are making lot of efforts. The training is going on regularly.
Right.
Even on 25th of this month, we are going to have a big training program for investigating officers. We are making all efforts to see that the charge sheets are good, they are without any lapse, and these are filed in time in order to prevent default bail.
Absolutely, there's a concrete plan with the Assam Police, and they are also very much aware of the fact that charge sheets have to be foolproof if you have to really send a person, or if you really convict, get the accused convicted. Final comments from you, Mr. Hijam, Dinesh, 30 seconds. Are you optimistic that all these efforts are going to yield results? Do you think the chief ministers of the Northeast also should unite and work together on this? Very quickly, 30 seconds.
They must unite. And one last request I would like to appeal to all the chief ministers. Whenever they form a policy making committee or form program planning to the implementation, let drug user community, poppy farmer community, all let them involve and listen to them. Otherwise,
right,
it will be top to ground.
Right. That is a very good suggestion. If you have to make a policy against drugs, involve all the stakeholders, including the drug users and including the poppy cultivators. That's what Mr. Hijam Dinesh is saying. Very quickly, final comments, Mr. Abou Mere in Kohima. 30 seconds to you. Are you optimistic?
Yes, but firstly, the Assam government has to come up with a state-specific substance abuse prevention and treatment policy. So in that, trafficking should be deal differently and abusers should be dealt differently. And we have to have a policy, how to implement the prevention policy. That if we don't have a state-specific policy, then only with NDPS Act alone, we will not able to do it.
Right.
And we have to keep in mind that we have to balance it, because we have learned from Nagaland experience and Manipur experience that capital punishment was given during late 80s and early 90s, but capital punishments do not serve the purpose.
Right.
But people has gone underground in the sense they do not come out to avail treatment services. That is where HIV has gone up. Viral hepatitis B and C has gone up. So therefore, when we are dealing with one problem, another problem might come up. So we have to really balance it. Thank you.
Okay. I don't know whether Dr. Sandeep Hanse was with me. Okay, Dr. Sondeep Hanse is not there. Final comments from you, Mr. Surendra Kumar, before I give the last word to the DGP. Yes, Mr. Surendra Kumar, are you optimistic in your career? Have you ever seen war against drugs in the state at this level, or I mean, gathering so much steam as you have seen in the last 6 weeks, maybe?
Frankly speaking, this is unprecedented. I had never thought, I have never witnessed any such intensive drive against drug under the direction of Honorable Chief Minister Assam, and also DGP Assam, who is very interested in war on against drug. We are very hopeful that this would continue and we would be able to win the war.
Absolutely, every right-thinking person in the state is hoping that the drug menace in Assam is completely gotten rid of. Mr. Bhaskar Mahanta, how much time it may take, or do you think it is going to be a continuous process? There will be no procrastination on the part of anybody in the Assam Police.
I would like to thank the people of Assam first, and some of the friends who have taken the path of addiction, who have now got reformed. I am in continuous touch with whole lot of people of their kinds, and they are great people actually. They want to reform themselves, they want to reform the likes of them, and they are patients. The people who are into drugs are to be treated as patients, not as criminals. Those who are trading are our target groups, and supply line people will not be spared. Assam Police will not spare, come what may. But yes, hitting at the source is a problem for Assam because of geographic, interstate issues, international strategic reasons. However, as long as the Myanmar groups are operating, as long as drug economy operates with whole lot of sundry outfits of different kinds are operating in our neighboring countries and the states, we expect some amount of continuance of this menace, but then if the other departments also come in and put in their bit, because Assam Police itself cannot do everything, it's not possible.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think this is a battle that is going in the right direction, but we have miles to go before the Assam Police can sleep, or for that matter, anyone can sleep. But at the end of the day, this is a very, very good beginning. We are seeing results every single day. And I started this program today with a breaking story of that huge drug haul in Karbi Anglong, where 1.5 kgs of methamphetamines have been seized with an international market value of about ₹6 crore. And that was all the effort, mainly of a home guard, mind it, viewers. The home guard, his name is Mr. Borsing Bay.
Refused to take the drug.
Who refused to take a huge bribe being offered by the couriers, and that is the story. I think this story has speak volumes. I'd like to thank all my panelists for participating in the show and the viewers for watching the program. Good night and goodbye.